All right, this is the walk-up. This is the first observation of the bus when you arrive to the bus each morning, making sure that this bus is okay to pre-trip and there's nothing that would put the bus out of service. So you're looking to see if the bus is leaning. That could indicate a flat tire, any broken glass or lenses on the ground. That could indicate vandalism overnight. You're going to look underneath the rear to see if there are any leaks of fuel or differential fluid. Looking at the tires, no cuts, no broken glass. Windshield looks good. Headlights look good. Look under the front. No leaks, no puddles. I'd say this bus is okay to pre-trip. This is Good Morning Bus. So you use the door key, put it in the door lock and twist it forward, open the door. Take a quick look at the stairwell, make sure there are no loose treads, no garbage. Stairs are swept clean. Grab the handrails, make sure they feel secure. I'm going to take the key and park it in the ignition so get it out of my hands and out of my pocket. Reach across, turn on the communication radio. You just push the button in the upper left-hand corner. Once you hear a click, it's starting the procedure. Reach across and unlock the driver's window. Make sure it slides freely. Now we need to go back and unlock the rear door. There is an interlock switch on the rear door that will prevent the bus from starting if it's locked, so we'll go back there. On the way back, I'm going to look at the seat backs, see if there's any damage, any writing, vandalism. Back at the rear door, we have this interlock. It's just a slide switch. You lift it up, slide it over, slide it back down. There's a switch inside this box that this slide bolt has to engage. Otherwise, the bus will not start. Another thing you can do is flip this lever down. That helps keep that bolt in the down position. On the way back up, I'm going to do the same thing on the backs of the seats. Looking at these seat backs, looking for any writing, graffiti, damage, cuts. That lets me know that this bus started the day in good order. And if something happens during the day, you notice later, you know what happened on this route or this set of routes. Now I need to go out and begin safe start by checking the engine oil, make sure there's sufficient engine oil in the crankcase to start this bus. And I'll also grab my wheel block. I'm going to put this behind the wheel or in front of the wheel, depending upon which way this bus is going to roll. Because we'll need it to keep it from rolling when we're doing our brake tests later. Grab a slice of paper towel. Depending upon which way you think the bus is going to roll, you're going to either chalk in front or behind the wheel. I think this bus will roll slightly to the back. So I put that under the wheel. Unlatch one side of the hood. I kind of rest this up on here to keep it from catching when I'm around the other side. Unlatch the other latch and lift up the hood. I make a habit of just feeling this coolant tank to see if this bus has been run recently. That tells me if I'm going to need to do a full dip and wipe, or I can just do pull the dipstick and have a look. I'm going to do a full dip and wipe just so you can see the procedure. This coolant is cold. This is the dipstick for the oil, crankcase oil, and it's yellow. There is one other dipstick on this bus. It's red. That's for the transmission fluid. We check that when the engine is running. Pull the dipstick out, give it a wipe. Again, if this engine has not been started overnight, you can just pull the dipstick and look at the engine oil level. The oil would have settled as low as it's going to get in the crankcase, not be hanging up on the stick. And you can see that we're actually showing it on the one side of the stick. You can see that it's in the normal range. These dipsticks have a slight twist to them because they're flat metal on one part, and as you put it in, you can see that it twists, and if you use that twist to help keep it locked, that'll keep the dipstick from vibrating out when the engine is running. Same with the transmission stick. You can kind of see that it's got a twist. If I let it go, it twists back. So you use that to help keep the oil dipstick locked. I'm going to close the hood now because we're going to need to move the bus for the brake tests. I'm just going to latch one side because as you move the bus, it might flip the hood open if one side isn't latched. We'll come back in the bus to do the rest of safe start. We just finished checking the engine oil. We're going to save this paper towel for when we go out to check the transmission fluid. I'll just jam it up here for now. We're going to sit down in this driver's seat, make any adjustments that seem to be required. We're going to check the steering wheel free play. Should have no more than 5 degrees of free play. You can only check this when the engine is not running. We're going to sweep our foot under the pedals, looking for any obstructions. If there are obstructions, we need to remove them. Checking the surfaces of the pedals, looking for good tread depth. And then we can turn the key to the on position. Here we're going to be looking for all the instrument lights. Up in the upper left-hand corner, it went on and off pretty quickly, was the glow plug light, and the ABS light was over here. You're looking for that to go off, go on, and then go off. We're going to apply pressure to the service brake pedal, and then we're going to exercise the transmission cable up and down several times. This is a maintenance item. It helps the fleet department. So it keeps the lubricant distributed within the transmission cable, helps keep that cable from seizing up. So now we're going to check the neutral safety switch test. We're going to stop in reverse. So if the neutral safety switch is operating properly, the bus will not start. In reverse, check it again, in drive. The bus should only start in neutral. Continuing to hold the pressure on the service brake pedal and start the bus. So, mantra we want you to remember is bus on, lights on. Right now we're showing that the voltmeter is giving you an alarm, and we're also getting an alarm for low pressure in the air tanks. The low pressure in the air tanks went off, but we have an electronically governed alternator. So for the first 10 or 15 seconds, the alternator will not kick on and you'll get a low voltage reading. And then after that, alternator will kick on. Voltage should go up to about 14.2 volts. The audible and visual warnings will cease. You can tell that the compressor is working when the gauges are slowly moving upwards. This is most likely going to be the case when you first start your bus in the morning. However, it is possible that you could start the bus and you'll have pressure somewhere between 90 and 125. You might want to force the compressor on by pumping some air out of the system. I'll show you how to do that after this builds up to full pressure. You'll hear a sound when the governor cuts the compressor out, and that's indicating that your tanks are full. So there's the first time you've heard that air compressor cut out by the governor shutting off the air compressor. So if you do need to confirm that your air compressor does work when you first start and your gauges are not moving, you can pump air out of the system by applying pressure to the service brake pedal. And you're going to pump down to below 90. That should kick the air compressor back on, and you can see the gauges start to move up again. That's just a way to confirm that your air compressor is functioning. That's an important thing to confirm before you begin your air brake tests. You have to have a functioning air compressor and a functioning governor. You can see our gauges are moving up again. That will allow us to get up to full pressure. All right, we're getting close to the end of building our tanks up to full pressure. As soon as we've done that, we can do the last two steps of preparing our bus for our air brake test. That's steps 4 and 5. I'm going to show you the sheet here again. This is the air brake. You heard the compressor kick out again. This is the air brake pre-trip inspection form. We've just completed that step number 3, air compressor and governor. And the last two steps, number 4 and number 5, are very important to be able to prepare the bus to test your air brakes. To do that, we're going to apply pressure to the service brake pedal. You can only release the parking brake with pressure on the service brake pedal. So apply the service brake pedal, release the parking brake. The light has gone off in the dash telling you that your parking brake is now off. Now you're going to slowly release the service brake, and you've now coasted gently against the block that you've put out. You might be on a flat part of the parking lot and you won't need a block, but we're on a slopey part here and we have a block placed behind the front wheel. Make sure and remove your foot all the way off the service brake pedal for the beginning of the static test. The last step to do to prepare the bus for your air brake tests, you have to turn the engine off. That's just telling you that your lights are on, but also your gauges are going to drop down to 0. So to remedy both those problems, you turn the key back to the on position. You've now completed all the preparation for your air brake tests. Okay, we are now in the air brake test. This is test number 1, the static test. This is sometimes called the do nothing test because you're really doing nothing. You're not applying pressure to the brake pedal. The engine is not running. There's nothing else happening. So you're looking to make sure that you don't lose more than 2 pounds of pressure in 1 minute. During this 1 minute, I usually grab my pre-trip inspection form book and I get this ready to be able to fill out at the end of the pre-trip. So I pull out a fresh sheet, white and yellow copy together over the cardboard. I fill out the school name, WTHS number 121, the bus number, this is number 5, the date, this is 3/9/20. No, it's actually 3/8/20, and we're going to call this 5 p.m. So I also take this time to fill out or to do all the crossouts. These are all the things that don't apply to this bus. This bus does not have master cylinder brake fluid. I am my own fluid checker, so I put a line through there. There are no fuses. There are no student seat belts. This is for your safety inspection. So I look up here at the window and I see that the expiration date is 7/20. That's the date that faces out. 7/20. Then I look here in the gauge and see my miles. My miles are 6329. Put that here with a /. Then I press this button twice. 1, 2. I get my hours. 384. Then I can press this button 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That takes me back to miles. Down the bottom section, I don't have a clutch. And over here, I do not have a side emergency door on this bus. So anything that does not apply, you could kind of cross out at this time on this bus, and then you can set the book aside for when you're completed. So assuming that just took 1 minute, which it obviously took a lot longer, we're going to do test number 2. This is the applied pressure test. So I'm going to apply firm pressure with my foot on the service brake pedal. I'm stressing the system. The air tank gauges will drop a little bit, but after they settle, you want to lose no more than 3 pounds of pressure in 1 minute. So with this minute, with the engine off, I can check all of my fans because it's really easy to hear them now. So low, high, stepwell heater, low, high, driver heater, low, high, my 2 fans at the windshield. And I'll leave one of them on and check my noise suppression switch. That works. My booster pump makes very little sound. This is about the only time you can hear it. I'm going to turn my strobe light on because I'm going to check that when I'm checking my hatches later. Then I can check my dome lights by looking here, and then I can look in the mirror. There's the rear row, driver dome, and the rest of the dome lights in the cabin. Those work. That's the end of the applied pressure test. We can go into test number 3. That's the low pressure warning test. This is done by pumping air out of the system. So I'm going to apply pressure. I'm going to pump air pressure out of the tank by pumping the service brake pedal. And you can see that the pressure is dropping. At about 60 to 65 psi, I will get a audible and visual warning. And that's telling me that I'm at a low pressure status. The 4th test is the emergency spring brake pop out. That's done also by pumping more air pressure out, and the emergency spring brake should pop out at about 30 to 35 psi. Okay, the air brake check is complete. The only thing you can do now is restart the bus. So we now have about 6 to 7 minutes while the air tanks have to fill up from nearly empty. I fill this time by completing other tests. So I'll activate a left turn signal. I'll activate my amber 8-ways, and then I can check in my crossover mirrors and see that my amber 8-ways are operating. My left turn signal is operating. And I'm going to get up and go to the back of the bus. On my way back, I'm going to check seat tops, both sides. If I wasn't holding a camera with one hand, I would be doing both sides, seeing if they were secure. Open the back door. Alarm should sound. Door should open freely. I look up. I've got an amber on one side, an amber on the other side, and a left turn signal. On my way back up, I'll take this time to check the emergency exits. Emergency exits should be marked clearly. I'm going to push up on the whole hatch first. I turn this little red knob to exit. I punch that, and that opens the hatch. We should get an alarm. I can also see at this time that my strobe is working. It's reflecting in the panel. Now we're going to reassemble the hatch. It has to drop into that groove. Just like that. So once we get it started, we pull it down. Have to hold on this bar with one hand and pull down on the outside with the other. There's a first click, second click. You're going to need to hear or feel 2 clicks. Turn this knob back to latched and then pull. There's 2 handles on the sides. You pull down. Window exits. Make sure that you note that their emergency exit is marked clearly. Window should open and alarm and swing freely. Marking is there. Window opens. Alarm sounds. There are 4 window exits. You need to do this with all 4. Emergency exits is marked. Emergency exit marked. Got 1 more hatch to do. Push up to exit. Punch. Line the pieces back together. Hold and pull. Hold and pull. Got 2 clicks. Turn it to latched. Pull down. Back to the front. We open the door. Our service door should open clearly. I switch my turn signal to right, and then I look up into my crossover mirrors, and I see that my red 8-ways are now activated, and my right turn signal is working. I also can see in my crossover mirrors, and if I get up high enough, I can see my crossing gate is out. And I see my stop sign is deployed, and all of my strobes are working on the stop sign. Now I reach down and hit the crossing gate cancel, and I can see in my crossover mirrors that my gate does cancel. And while I'm looking down at this switch, it's a good time to turn off my strobe so I don't forget it later. Now with my red 8-ways on, I need to check to make sure that the red 8-ways are working. Make 1 more trip to the back of the bus. Open the rear door. Red, red, and a right turn signal. On my way back up this time, I'm going to check seat bottoms. So this is, the seats are hinged at the front, so you're going to pull at the back on both sides on the way back up, making sure that your seats are all latched. Now, if I wasn't talking through all of this, that whole process would take about 6 minutes, and I would sit back down and my tanks would just about be full, but they are full already. So I'm going to close my service door. That will cancel my 8-way system, cancel my turn signal, and I'm ready to proceed into my service brake and parking brake tests. Okay, now we're ready to do the parking and service brake checks. Since we're going to move the bus, this is the time you put on your seatbelt. Also, it's the time you can check your seatbelt, make sure the mountings are secure at both ends, make any adjustments that you need to make as necessary. So with this test, you're going to start with this parking brake on and end with the parking brake on. In between, you're going to do a little bit of rolling back and forth. Assuming that you're in a parking spot in the bus lot or perhaps in the north lot at O'Plain, you identify where you're backing and what bus you are so that anyone else that's around you is aware of what you're doing. Other thing we do is we turn our 4-way flashers on as part of beginning this step. Radio into base. Bus 5 backing for brake test, north lot. So with the parking brake on, I'm going to apply pressure to the service brake pedal and put it in reverse. We should hear the engine change a little bit as it comes under load of the transmission, and then we're going to try to see if the bus will move with the parking brake on. It rocks a little bit, but it does not move. Then we're going to apply the service brake pedal again, release the parking brake, check our mirrors, honk twice, and we're going to back up. We're going to roll right over that block, by the way. 15, 20 feet. Put it into drive, and we've confirmed that it works in drive. The service brakes work in reverse, works in reverse and drive. Roll back over our block so we can pick it up later. And we're going to put our parking brake back on, leaving it in drive. And then we're going to see if it holds in drive by giving it a little bit of pressure on the accelerator. Everything holds back into neutral. That concludes the parking and service brake checks. Also at this time, I do leave my four-way flashers on, or hazards, for doing my outside tests, because this allows me to see a couple of lights that I can't see from the driver's seat or from inside the bus. All right, so that concludes the major mechanical tests. We do put the major mechanical tests up front because if this bus failed either the air brake test or the transmission or service brake tests, this bus would likely be out of service for at least a day, and we'd have to go start this whole process over again on another bus. So that's why we put all that stuff up front. But it passed that, so now we can proceed with the rest of all of the inspections. I'll start with looking at the rest of my gauges and kind of talk about each of them. The diesel exhaust fluid gauge is reading full. The transmission and water temperature both are building, but they're within a normal range. Oil pressure is showing at 30 pounds per square inch, but that is a normal range, a normal reading for idle. A normal operating range would be between 40 and 60. The tachometer is functioning. Nothing really on the speedometer at the moment, but because we're sitting still. We've already talked about the voltmeter and the air pressure gauges, and we have a full tank of fuel. Full tank of fuel means about 100 gallons. At this time, since we haven't done it yet, we can push on the end of the stalk of the turn signal and activate our windshield wipers and washers, make sure our fluid does come out of both sides and that the wipers are not creating any problem smears that impede our vision. At this point, I will get up, and actually it's probably not a bad time to look at my mirrors. You can make adjustments here on the two. This is the top mirrors, and these are the convex mirrors. So if you need to make any adjustments, you just do left, and then you can go to the right, make any adjustments on that side. Same thing with the convex mirrors. You might want to make some adjustments for your personal taste. Make sure that you can see what you want. So if you have trouble thinking about what to do next, you can read this bus like a book, left to right, top to bottom. So over here you've got the registration and insurance cards. You should confirm that these actually do match the bus. You have a current ones for both. You have a height indication. You have the no standees permitted, the other bulkhead letterings for passenger capacity and length. You got a body fluid cleanup kit. You should open this. Make sure that you have a sealed factory kit. We also include a second Ziploc bag of extra gloves and an extra hazardous materials bag. Close that up. First aid kit. Required to have 7 sealed kits. We actually have 8 in our kits, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sealed kits. We also have some loose band-aids in here in case all you need is a band-aid. You don't have to open a sealed kit. Close these back up. So I've worked along the top row. What do I see next? Student mirror is secure. Windshield fans are secure. Visors, both left and front facing, are secure. Look at the windshield, make sure that you have no cracks, seals look intact, no obstructions to the driver's view. Working down a little bit farther, we've already talked about all the switches on the side panel. If you haven't done that yet, you'll want to talk about all, your fan switches. Grab a hold of everything, make sure they're secure, the radio is secure, fans are secure. Already talked about the gauges, already talked about the steering wheel. Working down a little bit further, we've got the garbage can. It should be securely mounted, no more than half full. We've got a fire extinguisher. It should be an ABC type with a current safety tag. And then on the side here, there is a gauge. The gauge should be reading in the green, shows fully charged. Back behind the driver's seat, we have the safety triangles. Should have 3 safety triangles in that box. Also, at this time when you're standing up, you're looking back to the back and making sure that you've got no obstructions on the floor, no loose treads, no loose screws, no tripping hazards. And then you look up at the ceiling, same thing. No loose screws, no ceiling panels that are hanging down, nothing that's going to cause any injury. This bus looks good. All right, that concludes the interior inspection. Now we're going to go outside and check the outside. So we're going to open the door. On the way out, if I haven't done this yet, I can check my handrails, look at my stairs, my stairwell, my treads, make sure there's no loose treads. Stairs are swept clean. I'm going to pick up my block that we had for our brake test. I'll just put it aside here, and that'll remind me to put it away when we go back inside. Check my stairwell light, it should be on. My door light should be on. Looking at my door seals all the way up and down, they should be firmly attached and in good shape. Should have our passenger capacity and our weight rating on the side. We have a side marker light because I left my hazards on. This should be blinking. I'm going to open the DEF door, the diesel exhaust fluid door. I'm just going to check to make sure this tank cap is on tight. If this is not a luggage bus, as you can see, but if it was, you might have something that looks like this. This is a luggage bus, and you'd want to make sure that the doors are flush with the side and that these handles are down and secure in place. If a door was not closed properly, you might have a door edge that looks like it's sticking out from the side of the bus. You just look to see if they're flush. So since this is not a luggage bus, it's easier to look under. So you do a look under here, and you're looking at the exhaust system, making sure that it looks all secure. You don't see any obvious leaks of gases coming out, nothing hanging. At the back, you're looking at the drive shaft, making sure you've got your universal joints are connected, and you're going to have 1 or 2 safety loops. This bus has 1. Make sure they're in place. You can look forward, and the DEF tank is right here. You should not see any leaks there. And then underneath the engine, you look forward, and with the light bright outside, you're going to see any obvious leaks that might be occurring. So that's a good time to look under. Now we're going to check out the full side of the bus. Should have 3 clearance lights, 1 red, 2 amber, not cracked, broken, or missing. Have a bus number that's in place, 2 emergency exits clearly marked with retroreflective tape surrounding them. We should have our school district markings and retroreflective striping that runs the full length of the bus. Rear tires, minimum of 2/32 tread depth. You're looking to make sure you have no cuts, bruises, bulges on the sidewalls. Your lug nuts look secure without any rust, and that might indicate a loose nut. Your wheel hub is securely attached with no leaks, no fluid. Your wheel rim should have no welds, no dents, no repairs. Then you're looking to see if you have 2 air stem caps. There'll be 1 in each of these holes, and you're checking to see if they're secure. The only suspension components you can see are these attachment bolts that hold the springs on at the front. You're checking to see if those bolts have nuts on them that look secure. If one of those nuts is backed off or is missing, you're likely to have a suspension problem pretty soon. At the back there is a airbag. You're looking just to see if it looks full and inflated. Give this mud flap a kick, see if it's secure. I do reach in and push against the inner tire, and it should feel rock solid. If it doesn't, you might have a flat tire, and this bus will probably not go out on route today. Fuel door. Open this, see if the cap is secure. Running along the back, same thing, read it like a book. Top to bottom, left to right. You've got the 3 clearance lights at the top, all functioning, not cracked, broken, or missing. Looking at all of your lenses and windows, no cracks, no damage, all the seals look to be in place. Your 8-way system, all the lenses look good. Your emergency door is marked. Your school bus sign is present. Your bus number is present. Going to open this door. Alarm should go off. You're going to check the star lock up there at the top. That's what holds the door open. You'll also look at the door seals, make sure they're all in place, in good shape. A good time to look under the 2 rows of seats, see if you have any loose items, anything left behind, or perhaps a raccoon's nest that got left there overnight. Close the door, secure it. License plate should match your registration. Current registration sticker, license plate light. Give this exhaust pipe a little touch with your foot because it's probably hot by now, and it should be sticking out about 1 inch from the bumper surface. Should not be buried behind the bumper surface. That might allow exhaust gases to get up inside the cabin. Underneath, we're going to look at, make sure that we have a steel safety cage around the fuel tank and there are no leaks. Up farther forward, there is a differential, and you want to make sure that you don't see any leaks or obvious leak marks coming off the differential. That thing is full of fluid also. All right. Coming around the other side, similar report, top to bottom. 3 clearance lights, 2 amber, 1 red, all functioning, not cracked, broken, or missing. Emergency exits are marked, clearly marked. Retroreflective tape around both windows. Your bus number, school district markings, retroreflective tape all the way down the sides. Same thing with these tires at the rear, 2/32 of an inch minimum tread depth, no cuts, no bulges, no damage to the sidewall. Wheel hub not leaking, lug nuts securely attached, air stem caps in place, no welds or repairs or dents on the rim. The 2 mounting nuts on the suspension at the front, the leaf springs, airbag at the back, mud flap. Give that tire on the inside a push, and it feels rock solid. You can ignore that. That's the exhaust pipe for the S-bar heater. Another marker light is functioning. Radio antenna is in good order. Stop sign securely mounted. I do open this. This is the breaker panel. Because it's breakers, we're not required to check this because it's fuses on the sheet, but I do open this just to see if anything looks out of place or maybe an animal's crawled in there and started to eat away at something. Battery door. Here you're looking to make sure you don't have any excessive corrosion on these 3 posts, and mainly I'm looking to see if there's fluid down in this battery tray. That would indicate I might have a cracked cell in one of these batteries. I also check to make sure that these handles are pushed down. That keeps this tray from sliding out. Sometimes they vibrate up. In case you're wondering, this is the shutoff switch for the entire electrical system. You pull that forward, that shuts the batteries off. To push it on, you push it away from you. All right, we're going to do the balance of the underhood checks. This is done with the engine running. Other side's already unlatched from the previous time. Well, we first notice we've got the engine coolant is in the cold max level, and you can see that the coolant is bubbling back. That shows us that the water pump is operating. The steering shaft, steering control shaft. Power steering fluid, you just want to make sure that it's in between the low and high marks, which it is. The steering box or power steering pump. Looking to make sure there are no leaks, nothing loose, securely mounted. The power steering fluid hoses, making sure there are no leaks. This is the pitman arm. It connects to the drag link, and it connects down to the way down below there. That's the crossover arm. Those are the major steering components. Leaf springs. You want to make sure there are no cracked or broken leaves. So you'd be looking from front to back at the leaves. No cracks, no broken leaves. U-bolts, making sure that those are securely attached. This is the air brake chamber. Air brake lines connect to the air brake chamber. Slack adjuster. This moves in and out this way. If we were checking the motion of slack adjuster, you'd have to have the parking brakes off and the wheels chocked, but no more than 1 inch of free play on the slack adjuster. Down in the other brake components, you're just making sure there's no grease or oil on the shoes or drums. Shock absorber, you're looking to make sure there's no leak beneath this seam. That would indicate a blown seal. Those are your major brake and suspension components. There's 2 filters you can see on this side. That's the fuel filter, the transmission oil filter. You don't have to identify these by name. What you're looking for is to make sure there are no streaks of oil running down the outside of the canister. That could indicate a loose filter canister, loose element. Let's check the transmission fluid level. I'm going to pull this stick all the way out. I usually hold it like this to hold both ends. Give it a wipe. Reinsert. Get it all the way down. And we're going to take a look at the level now. It's way down at the cold line. This engine was just started, so it's down in the cold area, but we do have fluid. Use the twist on the stick. You can see the way that this twists. Use the twist to help. It almost locks itself. Looking at the coolant return lines, just making sure there are no leaks at all these fittings. There are no loose air lines. These are the air lines, these colored plastic lines. Nothing looks loose, it all looks attached. Same with the wiring harnesses, making sure that all the wiring harnesses look attached, there's nothing loose. You don't have to identify individual items, you're just looking to make sure that everything looks in good order. Let's go around the other side. Okay, on the other side of the engine, look at the serpentine belt. Make sure that what you're looking for is to make sure that it looks smooth in its operation. It's not wobbling or weaving back and forth. If the engine was off, you could check the free play, have no more than 1 inch of free play if you push on the belt. The radiator coolant fan is electronically controlled now. It's on an electric motor. It no longer runs off the fan belt. So it's probably stationary if the engine is not up at the hot level. That'll go on automatically if the engine gets hot. This is the alternator. You just need to be able to identify that that's what that is. That's where the alternator is. And down inside there, that's the other filter element. That's the oil filter. Just again, you're looking for any leaks, any streaks of oil on the outside. This is the air filter housing. You're checking, just reach your hand in here and make sure there's nothing blocking the filter itself. You can actually feel the top of the filter. This little gauge will show how clean the filter is. This little yellow disc will move this way once the filter starts to get dirty. If it's all the way up in the red, then that's really a dirty filter and needs to be replaced. This one's all the way down at the bottom of the green. This is the one fluid that you can add yourself. Washer fluid. This one's almost full. Same suspension components on this side. You're checking leaf springs, looking front to back. U-bolts, they should look secure. Shock absorber should have no leaks. Air brake chamber, air brake lines, slack adjuster, and then shoes and drums, no oil or grease. Front tires, no less than 4/32 of an inch of tread depth on the front. No cuts, bulges, or damage to the sidewall. Looking to make sure all the lug nuts are secure, no excessive rust on the inside that might indicate a loose lug nut. The hub seal, no leaks, looks secure, all the bolts look secure. The rim, no welds, no dents, no repairs. And an air stem cap in place and is secure. Similar definitions for front tires on the other tire on the other side. All right, we can close the hood now. We're going to latch both sides. If you haven't done so yet, now's a good time to check the front tire. Also, front mud flaps on both sides, they need to be in place and secure. The front of the bus, we're going to grab a hold of each one of these mirror mounts, make sure they're solid and secure. As we come around the front, we're looking at our headlights. All the headlights are working. This is one of the reasons we leave the hazards on. We can see these turn signal lights working, they're the ones that are hidden inside the headlights. Up at the top, you can read the front of the bus like a book again. 3 clearance lights at the top. Lenses not cracked, broken, or missing. School bus signs in place. Your 8-way system. Lenses are not cracked, broken, or missing. Windshield, no cracks, no damage. Safety inspection sticker is current. No excessive or no obstructions in front of the radiator. We actually have the winter fronts on right now, so this is intentional obstruction, but no additional obstructions in the other openings. Bus number, front license plate, crossing gate is secure, front bumper. Check the other mirror mounts. That looks good. All right, let's wrap this up. Go inside, pick up the block that we set aside, put that away behind the seat. The last thing we have to do is check the No Child Left Behind system. That involves turning the engine off and turning the key to the accessory position. I'll go ahead and turn the lights off. That beeping is telling us that the No Child Left Behind system is looking to be deactivated. So on the way back, you're checking to make sure that there's no children here or nothing left behind, and then you hit the reset button. That turns off or deactivates the No Child Left Behind system. That completes the full pre-trip. The last thing you have to do is finish filling out your book. We did the crossouts previously. As you go along, you're looking at the items, making sure that you actually checked all of them. We ask that you don't use this form to write anything that needs to be repaired or adjusted. We have a form in the office, in the driver's lounge, that you can use to fill out any repair requests, any missing items, anything that needs to be addressed. Last, you have to put your signature at the bottom as the driver and the inspector. Then you remove this white sheet from the book, and this goes into the office. And you're ready to go.